All right. Did you happen to get my message via Google Hangouts chat?
Yeah.
About the various topics we get to cover tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. So, would any of you consider sharing your own life experiences related to one of those topics?
Well, I think, and it's part of the quiz too that I took. It was part of my answer too. You like how excessive or almost to an obsession when people take their employment to almost an obsession, and how it affects family life, their personal relations with everybody around them, and it's just something that sometimes the person that is like you don't even notice that you're doing this, and sometimes you may think that the family is not quite understanding you, or they're just overreacting. There's a bit of feedback. I don't know if my mic is too loud for you guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not hearing any.
Okay, but anyway, so I think balance with balance with their personal and work life. I think that's huge for anybody, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're a single mother, single father, you have support at home, you don't have support at home. It's just something that these newer generations are learning a little better. Like they want to be successful in their careers. I was reading an article about this, about the millennials, and people talk, about the younger generation, but this is one thing that I think they're getting it right, in the sense that they want to have a life, they want to balance work life, with personal life.
Oh, how cute!
Sorry.
Gosh.
He just won the conversation.
Sorry,
Yeah, we just got back from my son's first kindergarten concert, Christmas concert.
Nice.
And he was doing this the whole time.
We're not listening to you, Zane. We're just looking at him.
He is so adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, so precious.
That's interesting, Vanessa, because that answer, I kind of picked the exact same thing, like work and life balance, just some people, I always hear so many of my friends complaining about their husbands just being so focused on their careers and missing out in so many things. And I'm just so thankful for my husband who, has found the right balance, and that he's here for the important stuff and not always working. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
So Vanessa and Margaret, I appreciate you guys talking about work-home balance. I think one of the other things that the differences between like the 50s and 60s and our time today is we've got a significant, or it seems like our commutes are longer than what people dealt with in the 50s and the 60s. I don't know if you guys have noted that, but you add that on top of the time that you're away from home, there's a lot of time that our spouses or even ourselves are just not available. It's important to have a balance.
Mm-hmm.
Did anyone want to share a personal story related to substance abuse, divorce, family issues?
I don't have any
The
experience.
closest thing I have is towards divorce and family issues. I have a coworker where he just barely got married, and I've noticed it like lately. He'll come to work and he just does not seem motivated to do anything. And I was asking him if everything was okay, and he was telling me that him and his new wife were already having relationship issues, and I could just tell that it was playing a toll on like his work ethic and his just motivation to be at work and actually do his job. So it's like one of those things where I didn't really know what to say. It was just like one of those things where I just had to listen to him and just be there for him.
Right. So
Just real quick, Susan, sorry. Did you guys happen to take the quiz? Did you guys take the quiz yet?
Yes.
no.
I haven't.
Did you?
I did.
I did.
Did you notice that the one of the options on the percentage of people?
Yes, it was off.
That question was
Because
wrong.
it was 68 point some percent, and that wasn't one of the options.
7%, and then they didn't have that option there. So
I picked the
I don't know.
closest one. The 68%.
we did. That's what I did. It was the 74%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
picked.
the one I picked.
Anyways.
It's frustrating. There's been other quizzes that the questions have been messed up. Have you guys had that experience too?
Yeah.
Like that one guy where we dealt with that one time we had that sexual abuse case and the guy's last name was French or something.
Mhm.
And there was, so I picked that, but it marked me wrong because the other option was like her boss. And I'm like, well, that's not
And
wrong because that's the person. And I was,
Right,
anyway.
exactly. Have you let brother Bonnie know about those?
Yes, I was going to, but then I saw he wrote, I noticed other people must have been complaining because he said that he gives us an extra 5 points at the end of the semester to make up for all those things
Okay.
that are messed up with the quizzes.
Well, and hopefully, you know, what we let him know about gets forwarded on to whatever department it needs to go on to adjust.
Yeah.
So I, being a divorcee, certainly have personal experience with, sorry, just a moment. No, honey, I don't. I've got an 11-year-old that is postponing trying to go to bed.
Wow, that's classic.
Yeah. Very.
So, gosh, it was about 5 years ago that things started to unravel at home. And I don't want to say I was just hired on as a full-time employee. I had been working with Apple One for a oil and service gas company. Gas and oil service company, let me clarify that. And they had hired me on full-time in January, and by September I was divorced. So it was a chaotic time, an emotional time. I feel like I did a better job, honestly, of focusing on work because I needed to make sure that I still had a job by the time that the divorce was over. But I will tell you that there were moments of unfocused, there were moments of emotions, and I'm grateful for the support that I received, immediate manager, and from the human resource department in regards to it. And we had I think it was EPA, is that how it, employee assistance, employee something assistance. We had something similar to that I was able to find a counselor and work with them through. But grateful for companies that think of outside factors that can definitely affect your focus within work and their ability to understand, empathize, and support through it.
Yeah. That's
So
great.
you think that
I had no idea that they had that service.
Yeah, like so you think that assistance really helpful. What kind of things would they do? Is it like a therapy or is the person to talk to? Like what would they offer?
Right. So the program, what I utilized out of it was the counseling services. But there's, I think it even talked about it in the the article related to it, that there's lots of options that are open and available. There's financial counseling, which is one of those necessities when you're going through a divorce. There is even legal aid options um, I think I want to say I made one phone call to a lawyer through that program, and I just decided to utilize a family friend instead. But definitely a trying time. And, you know, thinking about the two questions, how would any of these issues impact the workplace, and how, as a human resource manager, would you address any of these issues in the workplace? And the articles talked about, you know, being empathetic, listening, but, you know, taking a step back and referring your employees to the true counselors for situations like this.
And I have to admit that once I read that, I need to step back and, you know, get conversion from that issue, or like listen to the person, but like step back. I was actually shocked at first because I'm like, well, how insensitive. But then it sunk in. Like I realized, okay, yeah, you don't want to be the go-to person for such a complex problem, divorce, death, whatever it is that is affecting the person's performance, or whatever, you know, their personal life is beyond your scope of help. So you don't want to be caught in that, and ultimately even, you know, not be able to help that person and distract them from the person that could. So.
Well, and it even reminds me, my a former brother-in-law had actually been called as a bishop. This was probably about 7 years ago. And he said it was just interesting how there would be couples that would come into his office and expect, you know, phenomenal marital counseling. He's like, I'm a computer tech guy. Yes, I'm, you know, I've got this mantle on my shoulders. Right, honey. I've got this mantle on my shoulders, but I don't have the experience as, you know, LDS counselors, LDS services counseling can offer. And so I'm here to support you spiritually as much as possible. I can help you out temporarily with things, but I'll direct you to someone that will maybe be of more benefit to help with your marital problems. So I think that's kind of the role that as the human resource manager we take on as much as possible in situations like this, referring them to experts in the field to help them through whatever challenges, and be a support, but be a support and still expect a level of professionalism on their part. Zane and Melanie, do you guys have anything you'd like to comment on in relation to how even workplace dating or relationships could affect the workplace environment?
The one I picked was actually kind of the balance between work life and home life, but kind of from the perspective of that I actually work from home.
Oh, great.
And so I kind of have that perspective of like the pros and cons of doing it from home and having that flexibility. And there's definitely a lot of pros and cons with it. I mean, it's nice that I don't have to commute anywhere. I'm here to send my kids off to school. I'm here when they get home. But you definitely have to find that balance of still being productive, still getting your work done, not getting too distracted with things. It can be really hard when your kids are home and you have to take work calls, and you know, so there's definitely a lot of things that are hard about it. But I mean, it's definitely nice that I don't have to pay for daycare or have to leave my house, and so that's been a really big blessing. And so yeah.
I'm curious, what do you do from home?
I'm an office manager for an irrigation sprinkler repair company.
Great.
And yeah, so I was given like a work cell phone and a laptop, and I do it all from home. I've hired some other office people, and they do it from home, and they do primarily like the scheduling of the technicians, and I'm more over like billing and payroll and working with property managers and that kind of thing.
That is great.
So yeah, it is pretty awesome.
That is great. Zane, did you have an area that you wanted to focus on?
I actually, in my, I talked about the workplace dating thing, but I looked at it from a different perspective of not necessarily just the dating, but the relationships in general that can become really awkward between even non-romantic coworkers who get really friendly. I think especially younger people, when they start working, they, you know, you're trying to make friends and have a lot of fun that way, but it ends up making it really awkward when you come in, and especially I've worked with a lot of people that like to go out and party, and then they come in and they're telling stories, and you're just like, it makes it kind of awkward for the rest of us, and then when they get mad at each other, it's almost as if they were like actually dating, and then you have that whole weirdness. So I've always tried to make it a point wherever I've worked to, you know, be friendly and make friends at work, but I will never ever hang out with anybody from work outside of work. And I've made, you know, one or two exceptions to that for some pretty good people, but for the most part, if I work with you, we're friends at work, but I won't hang out with you ever after.
And that, for me, that makes sense. I think one of the articles this year actually talked about how the majority of our life is actually spent at work, and so we can actually expect a circle of friends around us. That it wasn't an article for this week's discussion. It was one of the previous week's discussions. So I think for some people, having friendships at work is a necessity, but I agree with Zane that there needs to be some boundaries there. What do the rest of you think of that? Okay, we'll just say.
I think it's good to have boundaries. I mean, I think it depends on what kind of job it is. I mean, I've had jobs where, you know, it was like a server job, and so everyone would go out, you know, at 10 o'clock at night, and hey, let's go get a bite to eat at the restaurant across the street, or, you know. And so I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people, personally, I think a lot of people outside of the church, that's like how they get their friends, because they don't have that like social aspect of it. So I think perhaps a lot of people, like, that's their social circle, so they do tend to go out with their coworkers.
Right.
I mean, I tend to agree with Zane that definitely causes a lot more drama, especially if like you drink. I mean, you go out and do something stupid, and then it's super awkward the next day, or, you know, if a relationship ends badly, it's probably best just to not go there.
Well, and I think you also have to consider not only what type of work environment, but what type of position you're in. Let's say, for example, you're a supervisor, and you start showing, what's the word I'm looking for? Not showing that you care more for another person, but maybe giving others
Preferential.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. See, it's in the brain. It just doesn't come out the mouth. Preferential treatment to those that you're hanging out with, which can cause another level of, you know, workplace drama or tension, if you will.
That reminds me of experience I had one time. It kind of relating to, we've been talking about alcohol a little bit, but I used to work for T-Mobile, and we would have different parties and stuff from different handset manufacturers, and BlackBerry threw us this really big party. And our regional manager, so he was like over quite a big area, he just got plastered, just it was bad, and the way he was acting was completely unprofessional. And I know a lot of us lost a lot of respect for him that day. And so, you know, it's important to keep in mind, you know, yeah, your rank or where you are in an organization. And even if, you know, I don't think any of us will be getting plastered or drinking at all. But I think, you know, our attitudes could definitely make people lose respect for us if we're not careful with how we present ourselves.
Absolutely. Eric, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just kind of going off of what Zane said earlier about like friends and relationships within the workplace. And I think it's like kind of what you said. It's important to have like friends or like within the workplace, but I think you need to make sure that you like what I'm trying to get at is I have a couple coworkers where they're really good friends and they always hang out outside of work. And so when they come to work, they have a hard time working because they just feel like they're hanging out again, and they just get talking and just, so I feel like there's a fine line on like making sure that you have friends with where you work, but you gotta, I guess, make sure that you stay professional when you're working and defer between working and when you're hanging out. Like make sure that you split those two up.
Yep, I'd agree with you. One thing related to substance abuse, since Zane was speaking about that earlier. So again, working for the oil and gas company, we were subject to drug testing, even as office staff. We're not driving trucks, but we were subject to drug testing. And the gal that I worked the most closely with somehow didn't pass her drug test. And because I worked closely with her and we were friends in the office, there was even this thought in our manager's mind of, well, could Susan potentially be, you know, afflicted with a substance abuse problem, or anyone else that this young lady had been associated with. So it's kind of important. You know, I'm again going back to the church, but we're reminded to select our friends that will help us adhere, you know, to our beliefs as much as possible. It's important to be careful with who we surround ourselves with. I didn't know she had a substance abuse problem. There were some other issues in the background in her life, but it colored my boss's thought on me for a little while, at least until I had my next drug test. Anyways, let's see. What other issues do we see in society that are likely to impact our workplaces of the future?
Pokemon Go. It's
I
bad.
had not thought about that. Explain, Zane.
I was kind of being facetious there, but no, I think there's a lot of, in all honesty, you know, just phone use. You know, everybody's kind of connected to their phones, and so it's changing the social dynamic when you're at work. You know, when people are on breaks, instead of communicating and developing some of those friendships that are on Facebook or you know, catching Pikachu or something.
Mm-hmm. Do any of you others see that? Have you seen that?
Yeah, big time. I think having that constant, like having the phone on you and looking at Facebook every 2 seconds, I mean, that's a huge problem already in the workforce of people not being as productive as they could, and companies wasting money on these unproductive people that they could be doing, you know, so much more work, but they're constantly checking their phone and texting and social media, and it's a big time waster.
there was a brother in our ward who he was let go of his position as a financial manager for a company, and about a week later, the bishop is talking about our sacrament meeting is based on honesty, and the last few minutes of sacrament meeting, our bishop kind of gives an overview of what we should be learning from the topics that have been shared, or the talks that have been shared. And he reminded everyone that this includes within our workplace, that if we are paid for 8 hours, we need to give 8 hours of work, and not 4 hours of work and 4 hours of perusing social media. And maybe the financial manager firing and the topic from the bishop didn't relate, but it seems to be pretty timely. Anyways, 2 plus 2
Funny,
don't.
I'm talking about those kind of distractions with your phone and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
You said something about funny about phone and stuff.
Yeah, distractions. And you talking about sacrament meeting reminded me that a high councilman read a letter from our stake president in our ward on Sunday about people, please, respecting the Sabbath while at church, and either put their phones on airplane mode, or you've seen sacrament meeting, people are checking their Facebook or whatever. So
Right.
They're just a huge distraction.
They're a distraction everywhere. What else do you see that could come up in future workplaces impacting them? I thought it was interesting, the article on the direction that the workplace has gone. And it doesn't necessarily relate to our topic tonight, but how moving into telecommuting kind of affected an ability to relate to one another and to work well with one another and to have that interaction, and how these days the direction is to find a central hub, if you will, to actually still go into somewhere to work and to interact with people, and to establish relationships, and then even establish relationships outside your own company to be able to learn and grow and possibly resolve problems within their company with what your company is doing. I thought it was an interesting article.
Yeah.
How do you see the workplace changing in the next 10 years?
I think it's already changing. How informal especially under the influence of these huge companies, tech companies that are the Apples, the Googles, the eBay, where the work office, the workspace is they want that flow of energy or synergy or creativity, innovation. They want that to flow freely, and so we see those informal workspaces happening right now. People telecommuting, that's a reality already for so many people. Although I do have to note that I'm in between the formal and informal, just because I think having some sort of structure is necessary because of those restrictions that we were talking about, because people can be people. And so I think it's interesting to find a middle ground a little bit, because you see that even companies like Yahoo, a few years ago, when the first female CEO took place, one of the things she was getting rid of was the benefit of working at home, because the productivity and performance is good. So I think depending on the culture of each company, that might work or might not work. So you know, I don't know. So, and I think it goes back to, I don't know if you guys read the Netflix article yet, or the final, but it talks about how Netflix is innovating HR and having their approach to so many things, and they're very equal. They're like, whoa, this could never work, but yet it's working for them. And, you know, their leniency, how they, you know, how they compensate, how they, you know, hire people. So anyways, so I think it depends on, and it goes all, I think it goes all the way back to the hiring process. The more effective, the more efficient the hiring process is, then you find that talent that you need, the skilled worker that you need, with the personality that fits your culture. And if you have that, then you don't need as many laws or, you know, or policies or procedures. Maybe I went a little bit on a tangent, but I think in the future, I think more and more it's necessary for the hiring process, in my opinion, to be, you know, more focused on finding the personality that suits your company, because more and more we have people with the same degrees, the same bachelor's, the same masters, and similar skills, similar everything, academic and experience. But do you have the personality that fits your culture? You know what I mean?
No, I like that you went off on a tangent, and I like that you tied it back into, you know, one of our subjects over this last semester. That's basically it for our discussion tonight. Is there anything that anyone would like to add?
We're good.
Okay. Well, is this officially our last meeting?
I think so.
Officially, yes.
Well, it's been great working with all of you. I'm grateful to have been part of a team that comes prepared and participates and does their responsibility and is joyful and fun and supportive and friendly and just really loving to each other. I'm grateful for this experience.
Me too. Same here.
Me too.
I agree. Yeah.
Just a little reminder, doohickeys Wednesday, please, next week. We
Okay.
need to talk within our groups to divide up the problems and solutions. So
Okay.
we'll just be in touch
I'll
with each
try to
other.
see my part this week. Oh, yeah.
Great. So it's Vanessa, Melanie, and Eric, and Susan, Zane, and I are the other, right?
Yep.
Have we gotten a Google Docs created for that? I can't remember.
I think so. I think
Yes.
Melanie does send.
Okay, thank you, Melanie.
Yep.
You're
I'm
welcome.
going to email
Thank-
my email box daily.
If you need it again,
All
I
right.
can send it.
Thank you. I'm sure that we'll be, you know, chatting a little bit via Google Hangouts over the next little while, but to physically, vocally say Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
You too, Susan.
You too, Susan.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
All
If
right.
anyone needs any textbooks, I have them.
Okay, I'm gonna text you privately and we'll arrange that.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. See ya.
The wedding preparation.
What are you saying, Vanessa? I'm sorry, that cut out.
I was telling Melanie good luck on her wedding preparation.
Thank you. I need it.
Awesome
Thanks,
stuff.
guys. We'll stay in touch.
Okay.
We will,
Alrighty.
for sure.
Okay, have a good night.
All right, you guys, have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
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 Bye.